Hi everyone, I just wanted to record a brief video on how to install FreeDOS 1.2 on a virtual machine. Here I'm actually using GNOME Boxes, but the process will be the same if you're installing on any other kind of virtual machine system. So here I'm going to start by clicking New, and I've already downloaded the FreeDOS 1.2 install CD, and you can see that GNOME Boxes has found it. So I'm going to click on that CD and FreeDOS will get installed from that. GNOME Boxes is going to set up a new virtual machine with 2 gigs of memory and 21.5 gigs of maximum disk. It turns out both those numbers are much bigger than FreeDOS really needs. So I'm just going to adjust those down a little bit by clicking Customize. And I'm going to use this slider up here to adjust down my amount of memory down to 64 megs of memory. I have a slider here for maximum disk size, but I don't have the option to go down, so we'll fix that when we do the install. So back to the previous menu, I will click on Create, and that now boots the FreeDOS install CD. And I'm going to select Install to Hard Disk. That installs FreeDOS, which is going to now bring up the FreeDOS install program. And the first thing it's going to let me do is select my language. And the neat thing about the FreeDOS 1.2 install is that if you go through the menu here, it'll actually change the language of the entire screen. Which is a neat feature, but here we're only going to go with English as the preferred language. Here's the welcome screen for the install program. It just gives you a brief heads up that if you install FreeDOS on an actual machine with another operating system, just be careful not to accidentally overwrite your other operating system. So here we're going to say yes, continue with the installation. And the install program recognizes that my C drive is not actually partitioned yet because this is a new install. So I'm going to say yes, partition drive C. And to do that, it's going to bring up the FDisk program, and the FDisk program lets me edit my hard drive. And so here at the main menu, I'm going to say yes, create a DOS partition, which is option 1, and create a primary DOS partition, which is also option 1. Remember, the maximum disk space was 21.5 gigs, and I don't want to use all of that. So I'm going to say no to maximum available size, and I'm going to use the backspace key to back up to about 204 megs. Although when it actually creates a partition due to some hard drive math, it'll round up a little bit. And you can see here it's rounded up to 212 megs. But because I didn't use the whole hard drive, FDisk didn't actually mark that partition as active yet. Under the status column, there should be an A there to indicate that it's an active partition. And so we'll click Escape to go back to the main menu, and we'll say to set active partition, where we can now say mark partition 1 as active. And there's my A to indicate that it's active. And so I'm done with the FDisk program. I can now escape out of the FDisk program. It's going to give me a little heads up that you need to reboot your system in order for those hard drive changes to take effect. That's a standard thing for any DOS operating system. DOS only reads a partition table when it boots up for the first time. So I'm going to hit escape out of that, and now the install program has also let me know that it needs to reboot in order for those changes to take effect. Normally you could just say yes, reboot now, but I'm not sure if this is a bug in GNOME Boxes or a feature I'm just not aware of. But for some reason, if I say yes, reboot now, it's going to delete my box. So instead, I'm going to back up to the main menu, and I'm going to force a shutdown, and then I'm just going to click it to reboot, and that's the same as having the system reboot itself. So here I get my CD menu, and I'm going to say install the hard disk, and that's going to obviously boot FreeDOS back up. I get the language menu where I get to select English and continue with the installation. I've partitioned my C drive, but I haven't actually formatted it yet. So I'm going to say yes, please erase and format drive C. And you can see it very quickly is able to format drive C to 212 megs. You can just hit any key to get out of this, and it's going to continue the install, where I get to select my keyboard layout. And we give you this option to select your different keyboard layout as opposed to your language, because for some folks, they have a different keyboard layout than their language. In this case, I have a US keyboard, so I'm going to select that. And FreeDOS lets you install a couple of different ways. You can install everything, which is a full install, or just those programs that replace the functionality of the original DOS, and that's called a base. Also, because we're an open source software operating system, we let you install source code as well. Just for this demo, I'm going to do base packages only. And that's it. We're now ready to install FreeDOS 1.2, so I select the option for yes, please install. And you can see the install program just kind of takes things after that. There's not much to it. We put a lot of effort into the FreeDOS 1.2 install process to make sure that it was straightforward for everyone. We didn't want to have a lot of unnecessary steps to set up your disk or to select these packages. We just wanted it to be very, very simple and straightforward to select what kind of a system you want to have installed and let the install program take care of it after that. And you can see here the install goes very, very quickly, and only after a couple of menu items we've now done a complete install of FreeDOS 1.2. It's setting up the system with the defaults, and we can now reboot our system. In this case, if I reboot the system, the CD that I have in there is still loaded. So I'm going to back out of this, and I'm going to say force shutdown. So in GNOME Boxes, I can now go into Properties, and under Devices, I can remove the install CD. And so now, if I go back into that by clicking it and booting it, it's going to boot FreeDOS from the hard drive. So the CD is not even involved. And you can see here that FreeDOS is booting up with the standard memory, and that's it. We've installed FreeDOS 1.2 on a virtual machine. It's very easy to install, and I hope you download it and give it a try.